Welcome to the deep dive. It wasn't that long ago that getting the news meant waiting for the morning paper or maybe the evening broadcast. Pretty predictable. Now, it's completely different. You've got personalized feeds popping up, instant alerts buzzing on your phone, content that seems to know exactly what you want wherever you are. It's a huge shift.
It really is. Systemic, like you said.
So our mission today is to really dig into these sources you sent over, pull out the key stuff about these emerging technologies. We're talking AI, blockchain, VR, AR, all the things that are fundamentally changing the media world.
And it's crucial we look past just the cool factor, right? Because this stuff is reshaping the whole business of journalism.
How so?
Well, it's giving reporters incredible new tools, but it's also forcing us to ask some really tough questions. Questions about, what's real, about bias, about truth itself in our society. Big stuff.
Okay, let's unpack that. Maybe start with AI. Artificial intelligence, we hear about it all the time, sounds futuristic. But the sources show it's actually been working behind the scenes in newsrooms for, a decade?
Yeah, easily. It's a cornerstone now. And not just theory. Think about the Associated Press. They started using AI way back in 2014.
For what specifically?
For generating quarterly earnings reports, thousands of them. Automatically.
Okay, that sounds efficient.
Exactly. Before that, an army of people, huge cost, huge effort. So that move really proved AI wasn't just about speed. It was about radical efficiency, cutting costs fundamentally. That was the big takeaway for publishers then.
But it's gone way beyond just spitting out financial data now, hasn't it? What are the more complex things AI is doing in newsrooms today?
Oh, absolutely. It's way more sophisticated. Now you have machine learning algorithms digging through your reading habits, figuring out what you like, and then serving you up hyper-personalized recommendations.
So that's why my feed looks the way it does.
Well, pretty much. And then you have systems like Heliograph at the Washington Post or Bloomberg's Cyborg. They're not just copying data. They're drafting initial news reports, handling the basic structure, the facts.
Which frees up the human journalists.
Precisely. It lets them focus on the deeper stuff, the investigative work, the nuanced storytelling, the things machines, can't do. It basically shifts the reporter's role more towards being a story manager, less of a data entry person.
Makes sense.
And it helps workflows, too. AI can do sentiment analysis, scanning social media in real time to see how people are reacting to a story.
So editors know instantly if something's blowing up or if people are skeptical.
Exactly. They can see if it's hitting the mark, triggering outrage, whatever. Allows them to adjust the angle, maybe add context, respond before things spiral. Plus, there's predictive analytics helping figure out the best time to publish, and AI tools cross-referencing facts against huge databases for quick verification.
Okay, that automation, that personalization, it's powerful. But I have to ask, if a machine is deciding what you see, maybe even writing the first draft, what about bias? That feels like a huge risk.
That's absolutely the core challenge everyone's grappling with. The problem is algorithms aren't inherently neutral. They learn from the data they're fed.
And if that data has historical biases,
then the AI just learns and, worse, amplifies those same biases. You can perpetuate inequalities without anyone even realizing it's happening systematically. That's why the research is screaming for transparency. Meaning, readers have to know. You deserve to know if you're reading something written entirely by a human, something assisted by AI, or something generated completely by a machine. It needs to be explicit.
Okay, that's a critical point. Let's pivot slightly from the writing to the experience of news. We're talking virtual and augmented reality, VR and AR. Immersive journalism. The idea that you can literally step inside a story.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting shift because it moves beyond just looking at a screen. It tries to create an emotional connection, a sense of presence that traditional reporting often struggles to achieve.
So instead of reading about a refugee camp,
you're in the camp, visually at least, or you're standing amidst the aftermath of a wildfire. It hits differently.
And there have been some big examples highlighted in the sources, right? Things that really made an impact.
Definitely. The New York Times did a project called The Displaced. They use 360-degree video, put you right alongside these children forced from their homes. The engagement was apparently off the charts simply because people felt present.
I remember hearing about that.
And The Guardian did one called 6 by 9. Used VR to put you inside a solitary confinement cell, trying to give you a visceral psychological sense of what that isolation actually feels like.
How do they do that technically?
They use techniques like 3D modeling to reconstruct scenes or events, and sometimes AR, augmented reality, to overlay digital information onto your view of the real world through a phone or glasses.
It sounds incredibly powerful, but also potentially manipulative. If the goal is evoking strong emotion, where's that line between helping someone understand and just, well, sensationalizing?
That is the ethical tightrope, absolutely. When you immerse someone so completely, the potential to manipulate emotions, even unintentionally, is very real. News outlets have a huge responsibility to make sure these experiences genuinely enhance understanding without distorting the facts or playing unfairly on emotions.
And it's not exactly cheap or easy to do, is it?
Not at all. That's another major hurdle. The production costs are high, you need specialized skills, and frankly, the audience reach is still limited. Not everyone has a VR headset lying around. It creates a bit of a divide.
That issue of trust, integrity, feeling manipulated, it leads us right into blockchain. We live in this age of deepfakes, misinformation spreading like wildfire. How does blockchain technology supposedly offer a fix for verifying the news we get?
Okay, so blockchain's core idea here is decentralization. Think of traditional media, like storing files in one central cabinet. Someone could potentially sneak in, change things, and maybe no one would know.
Right.
Blockchain, in theory, takes that file, makes countless copies, and stores them in thousands of locked digital vaults, all linked together. It creates this distributed, immutable record.
Immutable meaning, once it's there, it can't be changed.
Pretty much. When a piece of content, an article, a photo, a video, gets published onto a blockchain, it's time-stamped and cryptographically sealed. It creates a permanent, verifiable record of the original source and time.
So you can track its history.
Exactly. Any attempt to alter it later would be immediately obvious because it wouldn't match the thousands of other copies on the ledger. Every edit, every share leaves a traceable footprint. It combats misinformation by making the origin and any subsequent changes transparent.
Okay, but hang on. You mentioned platforms like civil or public. Aren't they still controlling the nodes, the system? Is it truly decentralized if there's still a company involved?
That's a really sharp question, and it points to the tension, the reality versus the ideal. Yes, there are entities running these platforms, but the design principle is that no single one of those entities can unilaterally control or alter the content record without that action being visible across the distributed network. It forces a degree of transparency on the process of publishing and editing, even if it's not pure leaderless decentralization yet.
Interesting. And the sources also mentioned blockchain is changing the money side of things, moving away from just ads.
Yes, and this could be huge in the long run. It opens up new ways for journalists and outlets to actually get paid directly, bypassing traditional advertising models, which have their own issues.
Like what?
Think micropayments. You pay a tiny amount directly for an article you want to read. Or digital tokens, almost like a built-in tipping system within a community. And smart contracts, which can automatically handle things like royalty payments if content gets reused.
So it could empower independent creators more directly.
That's the potential, definitely. Creating clearer, more sustainable ways for reporters to earn revenue straight from the people who value their work.
That idea of empowering individuals ties nicely into our next bit, mobile journalism and drones. Let's talk about the tools literally putting power into the hands of reporters in the field. How have smartphones and drones changed covering breaking news?
They've been revolutionary for immediacy and access. Take drones. They let journalists get visuals from places that are too dangerous or remote for a person to go safely.
Like disaster zones.
Exactly. Think hurricanes, wildfires, conflict areas. Outlets like CNN, BBC, they use drones all the time now for those detailed aerial shots, surveying damage over large areas quickly and safely. It provides a perspective you just couldn't get before.
And then there's Mojo mobile journalism. It's wild to think the phone in your pocket is now basically a whole TV studio.
It really is. The cameras on high-end smartphones are incredible now. And you've got pro-level editing apps like Filmic Pro or Adobe Premiere Rush right on the device.
So journalists can shoot, edit, and file a whole package from location.
Absolutely. And go live instantly from a remote village, from a protest line, wherever. No need to wait for a satellite truck or a big camera crew. It's faster, cheaper, and lets lone journalists cover stories that might otherwise be missed. We see people like Stanислав Kondrashov using these tools effectively to tell really impactful stories single-handedly.
Okay, so we've covered content creation, experience, verification, field reporting. Now let's talk delivery. Social media, the algorithms deciding what you actually end up seeing. We know they prioritize engagement, right? Likes, clicks, how long you watch.
Yeah, that's the game. They're constantly optimizing to keep you scrolling, keep you clicking.
Does that optimization cause problems? Is it inherently flawed?
Well, it definitely has downsides. While getting personalized content is convenient, the relentless focus on engagement often lead straight to those infamous filter bubbles.
Echo chambers, basically.
Exactly. Digital echo chambers, where you mainly see stuff that confirms what you already think. You get less exposure to different viewpoints, to challenging ideas, to nuance. It can sort of reinforce your existing worldview.
Yeah. And then you throw user-generated content, UGC, into the mix. Citizens capturing events on their phones, often faster than news crews can arrive.
Which can be amazing for transparency, getting immediate on-the-ground perspectives, but the verification is the challenge.
Because the algorithm doesn't care if it's true, just if it gets clicks.
Often, yes. Algorithms tend to reward content that sparks a strong reaction, positive or negative. So sensational stuff, misleading clips, outright misinformation that can spread incredibly fast, much faster than carefully fact-checked journalism can catch up. News organizations are basically in a constant battle against this flood of unverified content.
So faced with these filter bubbles and this UGC chaos, how are newsrooms trying to understand what's actually resonating with audiences and maybe cut through the noise? Data analytics seems key here.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Data analytics is now the strategic nerve center for many newsrooms. They're using sophisticated platforms. You hear names like Parse.Ducci, Chartbeat that act like real-time dashboards for reader attention.
Tracking everything.
Pretty much everything. Every click, every share, how long you spend on a page, where you came from, what time of day you're most engaged. They analyze all of it to figure out what topics are actually hitting home, what formats work best, when to publish for maximum impact.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The New York Times, for instance, uses its internal analytics heavily to decide which stories get prime real estate on the homepage. It's driven by demonstrated reader interest, and BuzzFeed basically built its empire on A/B testing headlines and meticulously analyzing what makes content go viral. It allows publishers to be much more strategic with their resources.
Okay, this brings us towards the end, looking at the big picture. We've got AI writing articles, VR creating intense experiences, blockchain verifying, algorithms filtering, massive data collection. It feels incredibly complex to manage, let alone regulate.
It is. And the threats to credibility just keep evolving. We're now seriously facing things like deepfakes.
AI-generated fake videos.
Exactly. Videos that look incredibly real, making it terrifyingly hard to know if what you're seeing actually happened. That strikes at the heart of visual journalism. Then there are the ongoing concerns about privacy. How much user data are these analytics tools scooping up, and is it truly transparent?
And you mentioned the cost barrier earlier, the digital divide. That's still a factor.
A huge factor. High-end gear like good VR headsets or the resources to build sophisticated AI systems are often out of reach for smaller independent newsrooms and for large parts of the global audience too. It risks creating a two-tiered news landscape.
And regulation. Is anyone keeping up?
They're trying, but it's tough. You look at things like the EU's AI Act. It's attempting to classify AI systems by risk, but defining those risks and then actually enforcing the rules across borders. It's incredibly complex and requires constant human oversight just to try and keep pace with the tech.
So looking even further ahead, crystal ball time. What's on the next horizon? What technologies might define the next phase after these?
We're starting to see whispers of things that sound almost like science fiction, but are getting closer. Quantum computing, for example.
How about that upside?
The potential processing power could allow for, say, near instantaneous verification of information across massive global data sets. Imagine fact-checking happening in real time globally. Then you have 5G and eventually 6G networks, which promise the bandwidth for truly seamless, high-definition live broadcast from literally anywhere with no delay.
Wow.
And maybe even further out. Things like advanced neural interfaces, the idea you might eventually consume information directly, bypassing screens altogether. Wild stuff.
That is wild to think about.
But look, stepping back from the futuristic stuff, the core challenge right now is clear. News organizations have to embrace these powerful tools. They need to adapt, invest in digital skills and infrastructure. But, and this is the crucial part, they absolutely cannot lose sight of the fundamental principles of journalism.
Accuracy, fairness, context.
Precisely. The mission hasn't changed. Deliver accurate, timely, meaningful information that helps people understand their world. The delivery methods are changing dramatically, but that core purpose has to remain the anchor. It's a tough balancing act.
It certainly sounds like it. Well, thank you for walking us through all that today for this deep dive. Lots to think about. And maybe we can leave you, the listener, with a final question to mull over as you navigate your own news feeds today. This technology is getting incredibly good at giving you hyper-personalized news, tailored perfectly to your interests and beliefs. But ask yourself, if the news you consume mostly confirms what you already think, Does that actually make you more informed? Or just more comfortable? Something to consider. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.